A woman on Reddit posted a mysterious photograph showing what appeared to be a mysterious code on her blueberry. She commented that a seemingly innocuous encounter with a blueberry would lead her down a path of mystery. Intrigued by its unusual appearance, the woman examined the blueberry closely and noticed a series of tiny, intricate numbers etched onto its surface, a cryptic code that seemed to defy explanation. Puzzled yet undeterred, she carefully took a closer look at the berry by using her phone's camera to magnify the numbers. She meticulously studied the intricate patterns, searching for any semblance of meaning or significance, but said that she couldn't explain why they were there, and noted that she's never seen anything like this before. Many struggled to answer what the numbers were doing there, while others speculated wildly about the origins of the mysterious blueberry code. One individual shared that they encountered a challenge in explaining the nature of the discovery, and highlighted that it deviated significantly from the typical codes commonly observed in retail environments, such as supermarkets. The user mentioned that they are employed at a supermarket in the United Kingdom and highlighted their surprise at the unusual discovery. They added that the code is too small to have been inadvertently added by a staff member. Additionally, they expressed astonishment at the uncommon nature of the occurrence, indicating that it deviated from their typical experiences at the supermarket. When observing a 4-digit code imprinted on your fruit, it typically signifies conventional farming practices. However, in the case of this particular blueberry, the presence of additional numbers left the supermarket worker perplexed, as they were unsure of its meaning. Others questioned whether it was there due to it being a genetically modified blueberry. Genetically modified organisms have become a prevalent component of modern agriculture, with proponents touting their potential to increase crop yields, enhance nutritional content, and combat hunger on a global scale. However, beneath the veneer of promise lies a contentious debate surrounding the safety and long-term health implications of consuming GMO-grown food. GMOs, by definition, are organisms whose genetic material has been artificially manipulated in a laboratory setting to imbue them with desirable traits, such as resistance to pests, herbicides, or harsh environmental conditions. While proponents argue that genetic modification holds the key to addressing food security challenges and feeding a growing global population, critics warn of the potential health risks associated with the consumption of GMO-grown food. One of the primary concerns surrounding GMOs is the lack of long-term studies assessing their safety for human consumption. Unlike traditional breeding methods, which rely on natural selection and genetic variation, genetic modification involves the insertion of foreign genes into the DNA of plants or animals, a process that carries inherent risks and uncertainties. One area of concern is the potential for unintended consequences resulting from genetic modification. Genetic engineering techniques allow scientists to precisely edit the DNA of organisms, but the complexity of genetic networks makes it difficult to predict how these modifications will affect overall plant or animal physiology. As a result, GMO-grown foods may contain unintended allergens, toxins, or other harmful substances that could pose risks to human health. Moreover, the widespread use of GMOs in agriculture has led to the emergence of so-called superweeds and superbugs resistant to commonly used herbicides and pesticides. To combat these resistant pests, farmers are forced to apply increasingly toxic chemicals to their crops, leading to concerns about pesticide residues contaminating the food supply and potential health risks associated with prolonged exposure to these chemicals. Another area of concern is the potential for GMOs to disrupt ecosystems and harm non-target organisms. For example, genetically engineered crops engineered to produce insecticidal proteins may inadvertently harm beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies, leading to disruptions in pollination patterns and ecosystem dynamics. Additionally, the widespread cultivation of GMOs has raised concerns about genetic contamination of wild plant populations, potentially threatening biodiversity and ecological resilience. Interestingly, this reminded some of the mosquito story that was posted a while back. For those unaware, the Environmental Protection Agency has granted approval to Oxitec, a biotech company based in the United Kingdom, to release approximately 2.4 billion genetically modified mosquitoes over the course of the next 4 years, until 2024. This expansion allows Oxitec to extend its ongoing trial in Florida and initiate a new pilot project in California's Central Valley, an area witnessing a noticeable increase in mosquito populations. The anonymous member explained that Oxitec's engineered mosquitoes are exclusively male individuals, ensuring that they do not bite humans. However, they warned that the use of genetically modified organisms has been a subject of significant debate and research in recent years, and one of the most notable applications is the release of genetically modified mosquitoes into ecosystems to combat the spread of diseases such as malaria and dengue fever. It raises concerns about the potential side effects and unintended consequences on the environment and the delicate balance of ecosystems. One of the foremost concerns regarding the release of genetically modified mosquitoes is the potential disruption of ecological balance within the targeted ecosystem. Mosquitoes play a role in food webs as a food source for various predators, including birds, bats, and other insects. Introducing genetically modified mosquitoes with altered characteristics may disrupt the natural predator-prey relationships, leading to unintended consequences for local wildlife. For instance, if genetically modified mosquitoes are engineered to have reduced reproductive capabilities, it could lead to a decrease in the mosquito population, and while this might be the intended outcome, it could also affect the populations of animals that rely on mosquitoes as a primary food source. The resulting imbalances could have cascading effects throughout the ecosystem. Releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into an ecosystem can lead to the evolution of resistance among the target mosquito populations. When genetically modified mosquitoes are introduced, it is possible that a subset of the population may have genetic variations that enable them to survive and reproduce despite the genetic modifications designed to control their numbers. Over time, these resistant mosquitoes could become dominant, rendering the genetic modification less effective and potentially making the mosquito population even more challenging to control. The evolution of resistance is a common concern in pest management strategies and highlights the importance of long-term monitoring and adaptability in genetically modified mosquito programs. Genetically modified mosquito releases may affect not only the targeted mosquito species, but also non-target species within the ecosystem. For instance, if genetically modified mosquitoes are engineered to carry a lethal gene, there is a risk that the gene could transfer to non-target species through hybridization. This could lead to unintended harm to species that are not pests and may even threaten local biodiversity. Additionally, the release of genetically modified mosquitoes may inadvertently harm beneficial insects, such as pollinators like bees and butterflies, which share habitats with mosquitoes. The potential collateral damage to non-target species raises ethical and ecological concerns, as these unintended consequences could have far-reaching implications for ecosystem health and stability. Another significant concern is the potential for the modified genes in genetically modified mosquitoes to spread beyond the targeted population. Genetic material can be transmitted through interbreeding with non-genetically modified mosquitoes, potentially leading to the unintended spread of the modified genes throughout the ecosystem. The uncontrolled spread of genetically modified genes can have unpredictable consequences, particularly if the modified genes provide an advantage that allows the genetically modified mosquitoes to outcompete native mosquito populations or other species within the ecosystem. It is crucial to develop stringent containment strategies to minimize the risk of genetic spread. While the primary goal of releasing genetically modified mosquitoes is to reduce disease transmission, there is a possibility that altering the mosquito population could have unintended consequences for disease dynamics within the ecosystem. Changes in the mosquito population may affect the transmission dynamics of diseases beyond the targeted ones. For instance, reducing the population of disease-carrying mosquitoes could indirectly lead to an increase in the prevalence of other diseases that rely on mosquitoes as vectors. This phenomenon underscores the need for comprehensive research and modeling to understand the potential impacts on disease dynamics and to mitigate unintended consequences. Human activities have increasingly encroached upon natural ecosystems, leading to widespread alterations and disruptions that have far-reaching consequences for biodiversity, ecological stability, and ecosystem services. While humans have long played a role in shaping ecosystems, the scale and intensity of modern-day alterations pose significant risks to the health and integrity of natural systems. One compelling reason to refrain from altering ecosystems is the importance of biodiversity for ecological resilience and stability. Ecosystems are complex networks of interacting organisms and abiotic factors, with biodiversity serving as a cornerstone of their functioning. High levels of biodiversity provide ecosystems with the resilience and adaptive capacity needed to withstand environmental changes, such as disease outbreaks and invasive species introductions. Altering ecosystems through activities such as habitat destruction, fragmentation, and species introductions can lead to declines in biodiversity, compromising the ability of ecosystems to provide essential services and support human well-being. Moreover, ecosystems provide a wide range of valuable services that are essential for human survival and prosperity. These ecosystem services include the provision of food, clean water, air purification, soil fertility, and cultural and recreational opportunities. Altering ecosystems can disrupt these services, leading to negative impacts on human health, livelihoods, and quality of life. Furthermore, altering ecosystems can have cascading effects throughout the food web, leading to disruptions in ecological processes and the loss of keystone species. Keystone species play critical roles in maintaining the structure and function of ecosystems, with their removal or alteration often triggering widespread ecological changes. For example, the loss of top predators can lead to population explosions of prey species, destabilizing entire ecosystems and leading to declines in biodiversity and ecosystem services. Similarly, the introduction of non-native species can outcompete native species for resources, leading to declines in biodiversity and ecosystem stability. As mentioned, in recent years, advances in genetic engineering have enabled scientists to manipulate the genetic makeup of organisms, creating genetically modified creatures with novel traits and characteristics. While proponents argue that genetically modified creatures hold potential benefits for human health, agriculture, and industry, concerns persist regarding their potential to harm the environment and disrupt delicate ecosystems. One of the primary environmental risks posed by genetically modified creatures is the potential for genetic contamination of wild populations. Unlike traditional breeding methods, which rely on natural selection and genetic variation, genetic engineering allows scientists to introduce foreign genes into organisms, altering their genetic makeup in ways that may have unforeseen consequences. When genetically modified creatures are released into the environment, there is a risk that they may interbreed with wild populations, leading to genetic pollution and the loss of genetic diversity. Moreover, the release of genetically modified creatures into the environment can disrupt natural ecosystems and threaten native species. For example, genetically modified insects engineered to control pest populations may inadvertently harm non-target organisms, including beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies, leading to disruptions in pollination patterns and ecosystem dynamics. Similarly, genetically modified fish engineered for increased growth rates or disease resistance may outcompete native species for resources, leading to declines in biodiversity and ecosystem stability. Another environmental risk associated with genetically modified creatures is the potential for unintended ecological consequences. Genetic modification techniques such as gene editing and gene drive systems allow scientists to manipulate the genetic makeup of organisms with unprecedented precision. But the complexity of ecological systems makes it difficult to predict how these modifications will interact with the environment. For example, genetically modified creatures engineered to control invasive species may inadvertently harm non-target organisms or disrupt ecosystem processes, leading to cascading effects throughout the food web. Furthermore, the use of genetically modified creatures in agriculture and aquaculture can have negative impacts on soil and water quality. For example, genetically modified crops engineered for herbicide resistance or insect resistance may lead to increased use of chemical pesticides and herbicides, resulting in contamination of soil and water resources. Similarly, genetically modified fish engineered for increased growth rates may produce waste that degrades water quality and harms aquatic ecosystems. Additionally, the release of genetically modified creatures into the environment raises ethical and socio-economic concerns. For example, concerns have been raised about the potential for genetically modified creatures to escape from containment facilities and spread into the wild, leading to unintended consequences for ecosystems and human health. Moreover, The commercialization of genetically modified creatures raises questions about ownership, control, and intellectual property rights, with potential implications for food security, farmer livelihoods, and social equity. So, what do you make of these mysterious numbers found on a blueberry? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.